Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi Fruit Loop. What you know?
Look, I know you about coughed up a lung just now.
Oh my gosh, it just went shooting across the room.
It did. So before I give y'all my interesting fact for the day, we went rock climbing. And if you are in Greenville or coming through Greenville and you like rock climbing, you need to go check out Blockhaven. So they took this old mill, you know all these old mills we got around here.
Yeah, they're very cool.
Yeah, well they took this old mill and they put a rock climbing place in it. It is so cool. Your
Oh,
youngest would love it.
oh yeah, I'm sure she would.
Should be scooting up that
I have to
thing.
take her.
Yeah, it's really cool. The people down there are awesome. Uh, so
Well, that's cool.
yeah. Um. Well, I lost my.
Well, while you're finding it, can I just tell you that I'm having an issue with Sherlock,
Uh.
and I don't know what to do about it because I can't not have my dog door accessible for my dogs. Listen, this cat is bringing in his girls to cuddle in the bed with me at night. So I wake up the other morning at like 4 o'clock and I feel kneading on my stomach. So I'm like, Sherlock. And it feels different. Like, Sherlock is very gentle with his kneading. And like, it's like this cat was doing CPR. And I get my flashlight on my phone. It's like this white and orange striped cat. And Sherlock's just kind of grooming himself. And so I put the cats outside. 2 nights later, no, last night, there's another cat in my bed and they're curled in this little ball. And I'm throwing the cat outside because I don't know if it's got like scabies or whatever.
He bringing friends over.
He is bringing his girls over and it's just not appropriate.
That's funny.
I mean, it's just
Okay.
like this strange cat kneading on my belly. What if that thing had attacked my face while I was sleeping?
What if it was like a wildcat and you went to touch it and it just shredded your whole sheet? Like that'd been
Or
hilarious.
my face or my arm. So I
That'd
don't
been
know what
bad.
to do. I don't like him being outside anyway. I'm afraid he's gonna get hurt, but it's just like I can't control it. But I gotta figure out something. I need to put a sign out on the little dog door. If you don't live here, don't come in.
Yeah. So here's my fun fact for the day.
Okay, what's your fun fact?
Humans are the only animals that blush.
Oh, really?
Think
You've
about it.
always blushed. You're a dead giveaway. Your
Oh
cheeks
yeah.
get so red.
Yeah. I can remember in elementary school, my brother's fifth grade teacher would come up and pinch me on the cheeks. Um, so yeah,
Well,
with a little
so can I just say real quick, my parents are on a cruise hanging out with James Taylor's sister.
that is so cool.
Yeah, they call each other cousins because they're from look, they said we FaceTime today. How cute are they? Our listeners love them because they come on,
That's
they bust
funny.
up on our lives.
That's funny.
So, anyways, this first off, we want to give a shout out to Two Cool T-shirt quilts. You can go to twocooltshirtquilts.com/slash pretty lies and alibis. If you look behind me, you can see my pretty lies and my Clemson t-shirt pillows. So go to twocooltshirtquilts.com/slash pretty lies and alibis. She'll know we sent you. Check out all of her awesome stuff.
And remember, she can do other things besides t-shirts.
Right.
Do
Hats,
regular
jerseys,
shirts. Yeah, yeah, all that
baby
stuff.
clothes. Seniors are coming up. Graduation season's
Yep.
coming up. By the way, can I just say, after all this time, if you look behind me, I've got to cover up some of my neons, but I finally got our logo on the wall, Fruit Loop.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
Yeah, I found a really cool company here locally in Greenville. I like to shop stuff out local when I can. Small
Yeah.
businesses rock.
Yep.
And these guys were amazing. They really worked with me. And the guy was like, we need a white border. Otherwise, you're not going to see it on that brick. So I'm very happy with it. And once I can get that little shine fixed, it'll be right as rain. But we got this
Cool.
fancy background when you come
Cool.
over and do the lives now and stuff.
Yep.
I'm
Cool.
excited. So this case, okay, we're going to start this Dr. William Husel trial tonight. This is streaming right now. This is a doctor who is on trial. And so I think it's 14 counts of murder. But let me just say, okay, first of all, I was very surprised to see Jose Baez as his defense attorney.
Yeah. Uh, okay, so I watched courtroom stuff today. Okay, I like this judge is funny. Like this judge is cool. Like they had a sidebar or something. He was like, "Hey, how are y'all?" It was so
Hey,
funny.
that's awesome. But let me just say, I know a lot of true crime people don't like Jose Baez because he was Casey Anthony's lawyer and she was acquitted. He
Yep.
was Aaron Hernandez's lawyer. He was Harvey Weinstein's lawyer. This guy is not, he knows his way around a courtroom. And I'm going to tell you, one of his strengths is totally eviscerating witnesses on cross exam. I mean, he can poke holes and he's really, I think he's good with juries. He's soft spoken, he
Yeah.
lays things out. I'm not convinced in any way about this trial right now, though.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you what though. The, the mics were so on. I was rolling. Like I don't know if they realized it at first, but so the cameras were on during like recesses. So you have
Oh,
like the judge saying stuff and everything. I was watching. I was like, do they really not know that's not on? Because yeah, like
that
you
would be
could get
bad.
everything.
It would be bad if, like, the judge said, "Do you see what that juror's wearing?"
Yeah, yeah, it'd be really bad.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm very open to hearing the testimony because this is a really fine line case for me. When I first heard about it, I thought, "Oh, wow, you got Dr. Death here."
Yeah,
But and it's totally a debate for another time,
yeah,
but, um, when you talk about this isn't euthanasia, this isn't things like I'm not comparing it. That's a debate for another day. I fully
yeah,
believe, by the way, if somebody is of sound mind and doesn't wanna lay there and waste away to nothing, that's their choice, but it's not legal here, so there you go. But I
yeah,
did talk to somebody who's been in critical care for decades about this case, and so I thought it would be good to get their perspective, somebody on the outside who has taken care of patients like this. And this physician told me that they absolutely think it is a travesty that this doctor is being charged with murder.
yeah,
The reason being, and I'll explain what he said, these patients were not, um, and no disrespect. I mean, we've both had families in ICUs. We know the up and down emotional struggle when somebody you love is laying there really close to
yeah.
death.
And this is for entertainment purposes only.
Allegedly. Guys,
Allegedly.
we're gonna start saying that because we don't get sued.
Yeah,
I don't want anybody to come take my sticker from me I just got. So anyways, the point is, from what we can gather, these patients were all very sick and dying. There was no reversal process for these people. When you're extubating somebody, they get an automatic body response where they're gasping for air. Okay. And not only is it traumatic, most of the time these patients are already out of it. But it's really traumatic for the families too when they're extubated and they see their loved ones gasping. And this is what the doctor was telling me. Um, were the doses a little high? Yeah, but his take was I don't think he is going around murdering patients. These are very sick patients. They were going to die within minutes or hours. And so the line there is going to be, is it criminal? And according to the one doctor I talked to today, he did agree these doses were on the higher side, but it's not like you're giving it to somebody um, who's gonna has a chance to make it. He was just in his opinion, he was easing their suffering by giving them a little more than the normal dose for not only the patient, but also for the family to not have those last moments of their loved one alive to be gasping and choking and doing things that our body automatically does when we're at the end of life.
yeah,
So I I don't know where I stand on this right now. On one hand, you think, well, there's always a chance, but so anyways, I'm gonna listen to a lot more testimony, I think, before I form an opinion.
yeah. I
But I
can tell you, I mean, my mom was on a vent for 11 days, and if you told me, like, the doctors didn't think, what she wasn't gonna make it, I wouldn't wanna see her suffer.
Yeah, and I
So,
think that was sort of and from what I've read online, just in forums and stuff, physicians weighing in, they say, this guy shouldn't be on trial.
yeah,
If these were young, healthy people that were mysteriously dying in the middle of the night and the drugs weren't being checked out, he was ordering the drugs. That's a different story, but kinda in the medical field, the overall consensus that I can see is these were really sick patients and, it was
yeah.
all right. So, um, right before the opening started yesterday, the prosecution actually offered him 30 years in prison, and he said, "No, I'm innocent. I didn't kill these people, so I'm not
I
taking
saw
that."
that. It was like um, it wasn't like it wasn't an offer. It was like a start.
What's your
Uh,
sugar?
that's what I was checking. 153. I'm good.
That's not too bad for you.
Yeah, it's not bad. Not bad.
So, what were you saying?
I was saying they were talking about it wasn't a plea deal or it wasn't anything like that. It was the beginnings of talks.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Or okay, so
Yep.
yeah, thanks for clarifying that. I
Oh
thought they
yeah.
offered in the plea deal.
Yeah.
So this jury is made up of 7 women and 5 men, and there are 6 alternates. Now, this trial is expected to last about 8 weeks.
Yeah.
We're not gonna cover it daily like we did Halderson, mainly because we're gonna start getting into very technical medical stuff that can get really heavy. But we are definitely going to every couple of days, every 3rd day, kind of bag up what we all can understand and keep up with this. I'm very interested in this trial. This could go either way.
Yeah.
So it was originally scheduled for 2020, but of course, COVID happened. And so he's just now uh, getting on trial. And he turned himself in on June 5th, 2019, and posted the $1 million bail the same month. So he's been home since 2019. So fentanyl is the drug that is in question here, and that is an opioid used to treat chronic severe pain or severe pain after surgery. It's a Schedule II controlled substance. Now, not only that, but we have problems with this in our communities.
Yeah. But I'm gonna tell you, I didn't know nothing about this drug until Michael Jackson.
No, that was propofol.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, that's an anesthesia drug. Fentanyl, they do use it in the OR, but this is a really strong
This is what
painkiller.
they're like lacing a bunch of stuff with now,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, here in Greenville, it's a big issue, fentanyl overdoses.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
originally, he was indicted on 25 counts of murder in 2019, and the prosecution dismissed 11 of those counts in January of this year. And those were patients who received less than the 1,000 micrograms or less of the drug. So, if the patient received less and died, they didn't get the indictment. They weren't included on the indictment, rather. The hospital, well, what prosecutors say is, in fact, the doctor is still texting me as we're on the air with opinions about all this.
You gonna
Um,
be you better be glad that's silence. You gonna be
it
ding,
is silenced
ding, ding,
because
ding.
otherwise y'all be getting lit up. So prosecution says he's believed to have killed a minimum of 27 people from February 2015 to November 2018. The hospital said on their investigation timeline that they count up to 34 patients as being affected. He
I-
is a
I-
what? Go ahead.
And I know we're gonna get into this, but this medicine comes from the pharmacy, right?
It does. Now, I'm not too clear about I know sometimes the approval for this medicine was retroactive, so it was after it had been given. But here's my thing. Like in June of 2018, there was an internal email at the hospital with concerns about the dosage that this doctor was giving. What I don't understand is honestly, if and I'm not defending him because I really
Yeah.
don't know enough right now too. But
Yeah.
if it was that big of a concern in June, why did they wait until November to do something about it? That's my thing is
Yeah. Well, my thing is this: if he's writing a prescription for that and you see it on the paperwork, okay, if you don't want him to be able to give that much medicine, it seems like there should be a red flag that is raised that you can only get so much out. Because what if somebody was, and I'm not saying I'm not accusing anybody, this is all for entertainment purposes only, but what if somebody was taking that medicine?
And it does happen. It
Yeah,
happens where you have staff that steal drugs.
yeah. So it
So,
seems like there should have been some kind of red flag raised.
well, today they had the pharmacist on. One of the pharmacists, he was not happy to be there. I'm gonna tell you right now. Um, but Baez in his opening statement said, "Notice that there is only a doctor on trial here and none of the pharmacists because no, I'm not saying anybody should be arrested pharmacy wise, but the point is, it's not just there should be these checks. And apparently the hospital had some issues with checking these prescriptions. And I
Yeah,
haven't gotten to that point yet in the research, but we'll get there.
yeah.
So um they're accusing him of prescribing fentanyl at potentially lethal doses to patients who are critically ill. And 6 others who died received excessive doses, but it was not believed to be their cause of death. One patient, for example, one patient was brought into the ER via ambulance for shortness of breath and high blood sugar. While he was being seen in the ER, he had multiple heart attacks back to back. And so they intubated him and took him to ICU. He was on life support. And Dr. Husel was the night shift doctor and told the patient's wife that the man's organs were shutting down and that he was brain dead. And he said he would give him something to make him more comfortable. And he was given fentanyl and then he died. He was one of the patients that was given over 1,000 micrograms.
Gotcha. So other deaths went the same way with the patients being on ventilators in ICU, and some families say they were encouraged by staff and how do you say his name?
Husel?
Husel to sign do not resuscitate orders. October and November of 2018, the hospital received 3 formal complaints related to his care. On November 21st, he was removed from providing patient care. December 5th, findings show he ordered potentially fatal doses. He was terminated that day. The board met with prosecutor Ron O'Brien to report their findings. December 27, 2018, the hospital begins contacting families of affected patients. In December, Husel filed a defamation suit against the hospital, saying he had suffered the most. Hey, here's that word. Remember when Rob Wood first used this word? We were like, "What? Egregious
Oh, yeah, yeah.
case of defamation in Ohio's recent history." The suit says he followed hospital policy and the deaths were due to natural causes after the removal of full life support. The suit is on hold pending the outcome of his trial. Here's my question. If they do an autopsy, which not everybody has an autopsy done, I mean, can they I'm just throwing this out there for it to be considered killing, wouldn't the coroner have to put cause of death da 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 da?
I mean, that's a good point. And these people, I mean, you see it started what, June? Is that what it said back there? All
Back
the
there.
way to
You
November.
said back there.
Back there as hogwash.
Back there.
So the thing to remember is, I mean, unfortunately, it sounds like all these patients were on their way out.
Yeah.
Brain damage is pretty much irreversible when your organs start shutting down, multiple organs shut down. And they had a graphic on the screen. I've got it screenshotted, but they were showing like albumin levels and things that indicate the body's not doing its job. When your albumin's low, like you can't move fluid, your lungs fill up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
so they had Jose Baez had up there lab values that show their bodies were shutting down. They weren't. So it's kind of like what came first, the chicken or the egg? It's like if you're dying, does an overdose? I mean, yeah, obviously it ends it, but if it's dude, I think a lot of it's going to be your personal beliefs on do you think it was murder more than like it just being this malicious because like Baez said, if he's doing this as a mass murderer, he would do it. He would sneak the drugs and stick them in his pocket and go in there where nobody's looking.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's where Baez is good in that courtroom because he's going to put this in a way when you've got 7 women on that jury. And I'm telling you, look, I'm not sexist. We're all equal. Women are more emotional than men. If somebody has sat there and watched a loved one gasp for air when they are terminal and dying, I am not convinced by any sense of the word right now this dude's gonna be found guilty at all.
Yeah.
It's gonna
Well, I
take
think there's
one
holes
person.
there.
I've watched people gasp for air.
Yeah.
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
if it was legal here, like it is somewhere, I don't know, there's a documentary, it's like Death Travel, where you can go somewhere. If you're terminal and you
Yeah.
drink that cocktail, I'm telling you, if I found out I had terminal cancer, I would not wanna lay there and, like, gasp for air and
No.
waste away to nothing.
No. Yeah. I
I'd
just
go out with
don't
some Pink Floyd in my ears, hold my kids' hands, drink my little cocktail.
Yeah, I just still say, I mean, autopsy, if there was one done, if
That's a
there's
really
not,
good
there's an
point.
argument. I
That's a
mean, what
really good
killed
point.
him? You know, my
And maybe
organs
they do
failed.
have autopsies. We don't know
Yeah,
yet, but
yeah, we
that's
don't
like
know.
an amazing point because what's that cause of death in that autopsy? If
Yep.
they're buried and gone and you can't say it was an overdose, then, are they assuming?
Yeah, exactly. So 9 nurses and were fired for being complicit in following through with his prescription orders. They have filed suit against the hospital and are asking for 25,000 each, but want their respective salaries at the time of termination. They're also asking for cost of tuition for nursing school or advanced clinical degrees, punitive damages, and attorney fees. Look, dude, like you just said, he didn't backdoor him. He wasn't anything secret. He was doing it right in front of him.
Right. And I'll tell you one thing that was just texted to me is my belief as a doctor is he gave higher doses to protect the watching families from pain associated with the possible slow and very frightening death process. So that's one critical care doctor's take.
Yep. Yep. So go ahead.
No, I'm good.
No, that's you, isn't it?
Oh, hey. Okay. So we're doing the openings. We're just going to run through these openings real quick. We're going to finish this up for today after we do these openings because I've got to go back and watch some testimony. So the prosecution, Janet Grubb, was the one who delivered the opening statements, and she did a very good job. She called Mount Carmel Hospital an unlikely crime scene, and the concern started with the pharmacy and escalated to the head of the hospital. She says some people do come off ventilators and live, and that was not the case in this situation. The drugs were obtained through a Pyxis machine, which is a drug dispenser. When I worked at the hospital, they had them. You just type in like your password and it's tied to you so you can't steal stuff. But
Yeah.
and so Husel ordered drugs verbally and overrode the hospital pharmacy's policy for review. To override it, it would need to be an emergency, or Husel would need to witness the drug to be administered himself. The nighttime ICU did not have a dedicated pharmacist. Two actually covered that whole hospital, two pharmacists.
That's
And that's
crazy.
kind of crazy.
Yeah.
He was the doctor of the year early in his career, and he was very well liked. And in fact, the prosecutor took note that you're going to hear from people who still think he's a great doctor, and apparently a lot of them. So he was trained in anesthesiology and critical care at the Cleveland Clinic during his training years. And she said the case is also about the science of managing the critically ill patient in an ICU setting and the science of managing pain within the ICU, including removing a patient from a ventilator and controlling their pain and agitation when you withdraw care. She said, you'll see how physicians manage care with much lower doses. And the recommended dose of fentanyl is 50 to 100 micrograms. So they say that he administered between 600 and 2,000 micrograms at one time. His pre-doses were 6 to 20 times the recommended dose, depending on the patient. The patient should be monitored after extubation and keeping them in a state of comfort until they pass naturally. She said he gave them a massive dose and called it a day.
Okay, so here's the deal. So they're coming off the vent, correct?
They're coming off life support,
So
essentially.
they're taking the tube out, which means
It's inevitable.
yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to be rude, but like when I worked in the hospital for years, I did work on a hospice unit, and it is the worst stuff you'll see. And I've seen family members do it, but there's a term for it. It's called circling the drain, which
Yeah.
is, something circles the drain, it just won't go, but it's about to, and it's gonna.
Yeah.
And so that's what they call patients. They're circling the drain, and it's not,
Yeah.
Not being rude or anything. It's, you
Yeah.
know.
So defense, Jose Baez, he essentially said they made Husel the villain to prevent the hospital from losing federal funding. Uh-oh, here we go.
Yeah, I mean, it's true though. They had internal memos about it and everything.
Yeah. So, okay, his board that he pulls up, it like covers the whole front of the courtroom.
Oh yeah, he's prepared, dude.
Like he's got
He's a
it.
good attorney. A lot of people hate him, but I'm telling you, if I was in big doo doo, I'd want him.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you, with the microphone mishap, it was really funny actually. So you could hear them whispering. Like some of his attorneys walked up and you could hear him whispering, and he's
Oh
like,
no.
he says, "Judge, some of my people are saying they can hear us whispering," and the judge was like, "Well, what's the thing on?" So green light meant it was off. He thought green light meant it was on. So it was
Oh,
weird,
oh
but you could
no.
hear them talking. You really could.
That's bad. We have to
Yeah,
go back and listen.
yeah, yeah. It's on the opening statement one or whatever. So these people were in the hospital, their bodies ravaged by disease. He says, "How would you handle the fear and anxiety of death?" That's going to be a big question that he's going to pull on the heartstrings.
It is.
Yeah. As your body breaks down, you gasp for air. The pain of your disease overcomes you. Will you concentrate on the pain, the fluid in your lungs? He says, "We will all experience death one day. That's the only certainty. This case is about 100% comfort care, a person's right to live their final moments in peace and dignity." The one thing you all need to recognize, if this is a murder case, then all these people, and there's photos of employees on the screen, were either involved in the conspiracy to commit murder, were conned by a suave, that's shampoo, right? Suave. Doctor, or are the dumbest people to ever walk the earth. These patients had multiple people involved in their care. There's no such thing as a medical murder case. This is not one. He goes on to say he was exercising compassion and free them from pain and let their final moments be in peace. He met a patient named Tracy Young. She experienced a bad death, gasped for air, tried to lift herself up as she was being extubated. He gave her 500, then another 500, and she still suffered. He gave her 1,000 and another 500 to ease her pain. She lived another 9 days. If the intent is to kill, you'd think the dose would be even higher. And that's a good point. That's a really good point.
Sorry, dude. I got super dizzy like a minute ago. So,
Don't be falling out the chair.
dude, I'm gonna tell you, I had a moment. There were 3 of you, Fruit Loop. Lord, the
Uh-oh.
world can't handle 3 Fruit Loops.
No, no, that's bad. That's bad. Triplets. Oh man. What the world? Don't be falling out the chair. So when he was fired, his civil lawyer tried to get Tracy Young's medical records to show he isn't a killer, and he gave these doses. The reason he gave the doses is because people suffered, and he is the one at the bedside. The hospital said they had no record of her death at the hospital. And then he goes on to say, you'll hear they knew about her early on and never disclosed her death to the police at the onset. Different patients need different doses based on their physiology. Each patient was different. Some didn't even get fentanyl. The process is the doctor orders the meds. There's one doctor for 30 beds. The nurse is the most involved in your care. There's safeguards to prevent this from happening. The doctor orders the meds. The nurse puts in the order and retrieves the meds from the Pyxis. And the pharmacist is supposed to verify the order. It's a 50-50 responsibility between the doc and the pharmacist. There's no pharmacist on trial here. I'm going to go on to say this. My dad was in the hospital several weeks ago for a heart procedure. And as a diabetic, sometimes you don't take the same amount of insulin. If your sugar's X amount, you don't take the same amount. Well, like my dad's orders are 200 units at night. Well, if his sugar's a certain level, he doesn't take 200 units.
Right.
Well, the nurse looks at him and says, because of this order, I have to give you 200 units. Legit. And she
Oh
gave him
my
200
gosh.
units. And then his sugar dropped in the middle of the night. So, I mean, I know this is like way beyond that, but that's the order. The nurse was like, no, I'm sorry, I have to follow this order. Hello?
That's insane. Let's just bottom him out and put him in a coma, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Look, I'm gonna tell you. medical people rock. I did it for years. I have been back in hospitals since November with my aunt, and these people, don't get me wrong, like they are some of the best humans walking this earth. I mean, I have
Yeah.
just seen these people. Um, she just got out of ICU yesterday and she's in a regular room now, thank goodness. And it's so neat because like her ICU nurses are coming and checking her, physically checking her because they're so invested emotionally with her.
Yeah.
Like she's everybody's favorite.
Yeah.
And
My
and they
mom.
kind
Yeah.
of, yeah, dude, we
Mhm.
we went through that with your mom. How
Mhm.
many nights did we sit out in ICU?
Yeah.
Just, it was up and down, and we didn't know if she was gonna make it. And so
Yep.
you've been there, I've been
Yep.
there. It's hard, and then we've both seen family members who were terminal struggle in their last moments on earth. So I have not formed an opinion yet.
Yep. I'm still. Yep. I'm waiting.
Oh, is this me?
Yeah, that's you.
Oh, sorry.
Mm-mm.
Wait, where are we at?
You got dizzy. James Timmons.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. Yes, I don't
You're
know,
fine.
dude. I just got really dizzy. James Timmons was one of the last patients. He was given 1,000 micrograms of fentanyl. That order did not go to a pharmacist. And so the pharmacist, their main job is to be the gatekeeper of medicine at the hospital. When controlled substances aren't being controlled, that's a big problem.
Yeah.
So when this happened, a pharmacist got a phone call by a nurse making sure that he saw they did this order for this Mr. Timmons. It was not in their system showing that it was even ordered, and it was. It's just there's something broke down there.
Yeah.
So the pharmacist thought maybe drugs were being stolen from the ICU and not that any patient harm was occurring. So the pharmacist mentioned it to their supervisor like 5 minutes before the shift ended, and this person went home. They didn't talk to Dr. Husel, and a voice report was made by the nurse manager as a level 4, which meant it's not a patient safety issue, and that stays within Mount Carmel's system. They don't go outside and get independent reviews or anything like that.
Sure.
So everyone knew Dr. Husel was aggressive when it came to patient comfort care. And you're going to hear the pharmacist previously approved 2 patients' medications who are included in this indictment. There are no guidelines. There was a discussion between pharmacists for months about the doses, and nobody said it was murder. The cases go to Trinity Health, and a spreadsheet is looked at. So finally, they send it out. Trinity Health, I think, is their sister corporation.
Mm.
And there were no medical records sent. And Baez says that started Dr. Husel's downfall. So Mount Carmel goes and hires one of the best criminal defense attorneys because they realize they have no control of controlled substances. This is about to all come out, and they could lose their ability to treat Medicaid and Medicare patients, which, I mean, that would put any hospital under if you couldn't treat
Oh, sure.
Medicare or Medicaid. So once this happens, the same day they start Project Lighthouse and they find Tracy Young's records. They did not give them to law enforcement and they terminated Dr. Husel.
So the next person to interview witnesses to a murder aren't detectives, but human resources at Mount Carmel, followed by risk management, then investigators. The detectives aren't given medical records, they're given the doses the patients received. So that Project Lighthouse had a media playbook, and they showed this. It says their plan should include the playbook they'll follow once they decide to disclose all the facts, whether due to leaks or in a more controlled way in collaboration with the prosecutor. Melissa is already assembling the playbook for internal and the Columbus community, so let's be sure we have it on the national level too. This will include ensuring our senior leadership team is prepared to reach out to other key stakeholders. Dude, it's all about the money.
It's damage control. They're thinking, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, they're going to shut us down. We're going to,
Yep.
what is it? Joint commission. When they come in the hospital, like everybody's on edge because they can take your accreditation. They can shut you
Yeah.
down.
Yeah. So Baez shows the confidential document on the screen. Who is the villain in our victim villain vindicator crisis communications narrative? Husel, nurses, pharmacist. Husel is popular with some staff and may even remain popular as a martyr for dying well, even if indicted.
So that was included in this
Yeah,
thing. They're
yeah,
saying, like, prepare because he's well liked.
yeah. Use language that these other than Husel are otherwise good people who make poor decisions and choose to ignore a series of protocols and safeguards. When a $20 million corporation wants to make you out to be a villain, they can. He then shows more internal communications saying their ability to treat Medicaid, Medicare patients is in immediate jeopardy unless they submit action plans to improve the pharmacy process. He says you're going to hear a lot about side effects. They have to prove the side effect occurred. Husel wasn't walking around with, and this is what we said, a secret syringe in his pocket. He wasn't hiding what he was doing. He lists all 14 victims' cause of death, number of organ failures, and lab values critical to life.
Yeah. So that's where we're gonna kind of stop this.
Yeah,
But I'm very interested in this trial. I know you are because every time I talk to you today, you were like, I'm watching testimony.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So, we're definitely not taking a stance right now, but I can see kind of both sides of the argument, to be honest. I can see why families would be upset that if he nudged them along with those higher doses, then yeah, I get that. But at the same
yeah,
time, I've been in the room when somebody's been extubated and taken off life support and the family freaks out. And
yeah,
so, like, one thing this doctor said to me too that I talked to today is sometimes doctors is kind of like darned if you don't, danged if you do. If
mhm,
the extubation and dying process is really traumatic for the family and the patient, he said, I've seen the hospital and doctors sued because of that because they didn't keep them comfortable enough.
yeah,
Then in this case, he's given too much fentanyl, probably more than he should, but death was around the corner and the patients died peacefully. So
yeah.
that's a doctor's perspective, but we're going to definitely be watching this the rest of the week. We'll be back tomorrow. We're going to start breaking down some of the first witnesses. They had one of the detectives and then Talon Schroyer, who was a pharmacist today. And yeah, we'll just see how this goes. But all right, guys, we
Hey,
will.
don't forget, go pick what team you're on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the link's up.
Yep.
Uh, so
I
don't
think I
forget.
got to tweet it out. So,
Yep.
all right, guys, we'll
All
do
right.
that. And we'll see you tomorrow. Hope you have a really good evening. Thanks for hanging out with us.